We can do this. Absolutely. You know, and it was referred to in remarks here not long ago. Jim was talking about the founding era. And you think about that Declaration of Independence. Think about that for a moment. In an era where bills are brought before our legislators over 2,700 pages in length. Declaration of Independence was one page. One simple page. Simplicity, beauty, clarity. Jim gave you some of the summoning words. That one page changed the history of the world. Changed the history of the world. That was a radical idea. The idea that we, the people, could live free. I mean, we look back on it now, and some Americans say, of course. In 1776, that was a radical idea. That was an era of divine right of kings. Kings and queens and aristocracy and a court. That's what any ordinary American or any person needed to live. And our country said, no, we can live free. In fact, just to reinforce that, after we defeated the greatest superpower in the world at the time to secure our freedoms, because no radical idea ever comes into being without a fight. And we brought that to victory. But when we brought forward the Constitution, and we could talk a long time about the Constitution when we won't, but the animating principle behind the Constitution was the idea that we could live free, and to protect us from tyrannical government, we set up checks and balances everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, you had Congress, you had a House and a Senate. You had a Congress checked by a president in the courts. You had a president checked by the Congress in the courts. And you had a courts checked by the Congress and the president. That was the federal government. And then you had the state government. And the state government, we chose the word state for a reason, by the way. Could have chosen anything, right? County, province. We chose the word state. Because sovereignty then given, co-sovereignty given to states. States checking the federal government. And behind all that, an armed populace. An armed populace as another check to overreaching government. Our freedoms. Our freedoms. And if you think about our freedoms, if you ever have the time, this is an interesting thing to do. Take a look at the Declaration of Independence. That first three, those summoning words that really puts forth a concept on how to live free. The rest of the 2/3 of the document is a divorce document. Everything that King George's been doing to us. He's been denying us the right to assemble, no representation. He's been putting troops in our house. He's been, denying us every right under the sun. You take a look at that, and now crosswalk it. Take a look at the Bill of Rights. It's all there. We're all products of our experience. The founders were no different. Why did I put the First Amendment in there? Because King George had denied it. What about the Second Amendment? The Second Amendment, it's because, 1775, April 4, when Paul Revere was writing, where the Brits were going was the magazine. They were going for our guns. And let's think about it now. Think about it. At the time, that was our government. That was our government. Now we look at it and say we severed ourselves. And that was our government at the time. We put the Second Amendment in there because our government's not going to march for our magazine. That's why it's there. And that's our freedoms. You look at the Third Amendment. That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, you get the point. I mean, we can go down to third, fourth, fifth. It's all there because it's a belief that we can live free, and we're going to make sure of that by checking the growth and the centralization of government. Now, you look at 2010, and I submit to you that part of the problem we're in is that over time, we have centralized too much power in Washington, D.C. You look at that initial contract, if you will, between us, the people, and our governments, plural, state and federal, and over time, we have sent too much power down to Washington, D.C. We have sent way too much money down to Washington, D.C., and that's part of the problem we're in. Now we're stepping on our freedoms. We're stepping on our freedoms, but the economy is underperforming, and we have a debt right now that threatens to limit the choices and the freedoms of future generations. That's what's going on right now, because you know what? My generation, and why I'm here today, and why I'm motivated, and why I will not tire, is you look at, I'm 46, our generation, we have spent our parents' money, we have spent our money, and now we're reaching for our kids' money. This is not right. This has got to stop. Now, it's not going to be easy, but this is the way forward. And what I'm noticing now is increasingly there is consensus on our message. Even among some Democrats, recognizing the fact that what we say, our campaign, what we stand for, is the right way forward out of the tough situation that we're in. What we need to do, the first thing we need to do is get the economy going. And that's for several reasons. First of all, is because we believe in having our constituents rise to their God-given potential. That's the first reason. And to do that, we need a thriving economy. To get the thriving economy, we need targeted tax and regulatory relief, and we need to repeal and replace the health care bill. And why is that? Now, we arrive at that as our central plan and platform because we listen carefully to small business owners and their employees. They tell us. You know, if you're ever curious, you can turn on the TV, the Sunday morning talk shows, and you can listen to the PhD economists from take your pick where, and they'll dazzle you with all the macroeconomic data that you ever want to see. And it's usually like driving in the rear view mirror, right? Because it's everything 90 days ago. You know, and they're going to keep talking to you about it. But what I would tell you is that if you want to know about the economy, talk to our small business owners and their employees. 70% of our jobs are created by small business owners. A microeconomic approach is the one that's necessary. Because when I meet small business owners, what they tell you, I ask them, are you going to grow next year? They say no. They say no because of the tax burden, because of the regulatory burden that stifles creative ideas, and because of the healthcare costs which keep spiraling out of control. And that's why we need to target these impediments to growth and get them out of the way. Incidentally, had the administration done this 20 months ago, had they taken this approach, had they taken an approach that, and by the way, they're talking about it now. They're actually talking about tax cuts. Where were we 20 months ago when we were talking about spending $1 trillion? What we needed then, and what we still need now, is the targeted tax and regulatory relief. And I would tell you that when you talk about the tax situation, and the fact that here in New York, some of our small business owners, their compounded tax rates are 63% when you add up all these taxes. Now keep in mind, that doesn't include user fees, which we probably ought to find a way to compute and get that in there too. But these tax rates are excessive, and they're weighing us down. We've got to preserve the people's tax cuts of 01 and 03. And you know, you heard me mention earlier in my remarks about the 1929 to 1931 period. You know, if we levy a tax increase, there's going to be second order effects. There's going to be, it's going to shrink the bottom line of small business, and it's going to have an impact on the decision-making process of our small business owners. That's why I'm opposed to it. I also think we need to look at this.